Death is inevitable, much like taxes. Sometimes big fat installments of money in the forms of trust funds are inevitable too. If you believed you deserved that money, how far would you go for it? G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmITheA, where we will be tackling that question in our first post. Now if you love today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and enjoy the video. Thank you. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my late ex-husband's kids money, especially after they tried suing me? My late ex-husband and I have had 3 kids together. We're divorced because he had mental health issues that he refused to seek help for. He remarried a woman almost immediately after, and they divorced as well after they had 2 young kids together. 2 divorces in a 5-year span prompted him to finally get help, and he became a much better person. We re-established a close friendship. When he got sick, could no longer work, and his medical bills were bankrupting him, I offered for him to live with me and our kids. When he passed, I established Social Security for my kids and moved on with my life. And I assumed that she did the same. The kids are all now over 18, and 3 years ago, I got a court summons. His other 2 kids had decided that their father had remarried me, and I stole all his money for myself and my kids. I was basically just the devil, and they were going to get what they were owed. This was completely wrong. I never remarried my ex. While we lived together as a family for the past almost 6 years, it was not even a little romantic, and it would have been stupid to remarry him. His medical bills were insane, there was no money for any of the kids because he had no money, and I was fine to have his kids come over, which was usually 50-50 aside from years 2 and 6, but I never pretended to be a parent to them. The reason there's some money now is because I was able to establish a good career, and my current husband was established when we met. I tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't listen and insisted on going before a judge. During the hearing, when records were pulled out, they switched to the argument that my ex acted as a stay-at-home parent for me, which allowed for me to grow my career. This didn't work and their case was dismissed. Now they're not only still low income, but they've racked up lawyers' fees. They are now crying to anyone that will listen about how evil I am to bankrupt teenagers and how they're even more unable to go to college because I won't be fair. Some of our mutual relatives are now saying that I should care more about these kids because they were basically my stepkids, even if not by law, and that family is not black and white. I think some of your mutual relatives should take these opinions and shove them up their ass. That's what I think. I think that while they're absolutely welcome to their opinions, I disagree with them. I absolutely disagree with them there. The court has decided that these kids are not owed anything by you. Just because these relatives hear their sob stories of these teenagers trying to basically scam you, I don't think you should listen to them. And I respect you for coming to Am I the Asshole to ask for your opinions on this. Because there are cases where it's like, you know what, yeah, he was a millionaire and you did look after him for 6 years and inherit, $10 million in a trust fund. And those kids he'd kicked to the side when his ex cheated on him 10 years ago, and now they're broke and starving. But this is not that situation. Screw these 2 for taking you to court over something so frivolous and obviously baseless. They deserve the lawyer's fees and whatever else is coming their way, not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Danny Big D says, "Not the a-hole. They played dirty and now they're paying for it. Not your problem. Crappy actions meet crappy consequences. I like to say, good decisions come from experience, experience comes from bad decisions. Not the a-hole, and clearly they were misleading the lawyer. This case seems unwinnable, or the lawyer was hoping you would settle. Either way, they are not your problem. The lawyer got paid. He probably told them the chances are low, but why should he try to convince them not to pay him a lot of money? Probably one of those unethical lawyers taking advantage of fatherless teens full of rage, promising a settlement if they put enough pressure on dad's ex-wife, because she or he gets paid regardless. Probably, but we don't know. But there are always cases of people who don't listen. If he would have gave them false hope, he would have been liable. Not the a-hole. There is clearly not ever going to be a way for you to alter their perspective on this. I'm sure they legitimately feel that you somehow were unfair to them in this complex situation. However, that's on them, not you. If they had to be caretakers for their dying father, their burden would have been worse. They can join the legions of people who get zero financial resources from their parents and make their own way. You were an amazing person for helping your ex, and you owe the kids he created after your relationship was dissolved nothing. Plus, the kids had their own mother. It sounds like at the time of his passing, those kids might have been under 18. If their own mum didn't go through the steps with Social Security for them to receive a portion of their dad's death benefits, well, tough. It sounds like the dad might have had 50-50 shared parenting with the wife too, so there might not have been a child support order in place. Again, that's on wife 2 to explain to her kids, but I wouldn't be surprised if those kids heard a lot of, "Your dad's a deadbeat," even if support wasn't warranted in the case. These kids might be working from a baseline like, "Dad doesn't pay." You know, OP will never know. Funny, I bet those kids didn't step in as his heirs to settle any outstanding debts he had, if there were any. Our next post is by user AmITheA Throwaway 11 titled, "Am I the a-hole for calling my husband delusional for expecting me to rehire the babysitter after she read our daughter's journal? My husband and I work long shifts. We have 3 kids, and for years we've been hiring babysitters of different kinds to help with the kids. My oldest is my 14-year-old daughter Lauren. She's been going through a hard phase after her best friend passed away from leukemia in December. It impacted her hugely. She received therapy for 2 months and is doing better now, but grief has no timeline, and she misses her bestie so much. I do all I can to be available and lend a comforting shoulder. We got her a new journal to write down about her thoughts and feelings, and she's been doing a lot better since she had it. We were looking for a babysitter, and my husband suggested his friend's 17-year-old daughter. I know her, so I said yes right away. She worked for us for weeks. She sometimes teases Lauren about her being uptight, never smiling, giving her the nickname Grinch. I told her to stop it, but she said she was just messing with her, trying to get her to cheer up. No biggie. Days ago, while I was working, Lauren called me and was crying, saying I needed to come home. I freaked out, and when I got there, I saw the babysitter sitting with the kids. Lauren was upstairs. She said the babysitter took her journal and started reading it out loud in front of the kids while recording herself. I was pissed AF. I asked the babysitter, and she said that she was just messing with Lauren and showing her that it's okay to speak her emotions out loud instead of bottling them up. She really thought she was helping her overcome her fear to express herself. I yelled, saying it wasn't her place and that she caused more trouble than ever. She apologized and swore she deleted the video, but I told her she could no longer work for us and needed to leave. She broke down crying and apologizing to me and Lauren, but I refused to let her keep her job. I know Lauren doesn't want to be around her anymore. My husband came home and was upset that I let the babysitter go, reminding me that this was his friend's daughter and I shouldn't have made her leave. He argued that I handled this the wrong way and that I should have been the adult in this situation instead of yelling and kicking her out. I explained what she did to Lauren, but he said, "I agree with you on this. She should have known better, but she didn't. Kids her age make mistakes. What's done is done. She's apologized, so we should give her another chance." He kept going on about how this impacted his friendship of 14 years, and also said we're now without a babysitter, and his trip is this week, so I have no choice but to let her come back, but I said no. She will never step a foot in this house again. He called me unreasonable by referring to everything as if it's mine, and he shouldn't have an opinion, and said that it's his house too. I ended up calling him delusional for expecting me to rehire her after this stunt she pulled on Lauren, and I won't let it happen because my daughter can't feel comfortable in her own home. He got very upset for what I said and stopped speaking to me since then. Am I the a-hole? And edit for those asking why we'd need a babysitter with a 14-year-old in the house. First of all, the babysitter is for my younger children, 6 to 4 years old. My daughter does not need a babysitter, obviously. And second of all, my daughter is incapable of looking after her brothers for several reasons. She's already made it clear, and I wasn't going to force her to do it. Besides that, hiring babysitters became normal and is part of our lives, but this issue occurred. I think you did the right thing in this situation. I feel like that was bullying from the get-go. She deserved to be fired before that for whatever else she was doing to this kid, but I'm sure this was the camel that broke the straw's back in this instance, and you felt like you had no choice. Yes, there should be discussions, and decisions shouldn't be unilateral in most situations, but your husband refuses to see this from your daughter's perspective and how cruel and belittling these words were. I don't know how he can see blatant bullying to his daughter, have her cry about it, have her not be comfortable and safe in her own home with this presence around, and still say, oh, you're overreacting. He really needs a good slap in the face for that one if he refuses to see why this is hurting your daughter so much and why it is so much of a big deal as you're making it out to be. I disagree with your husband in this instance. I agree with you. You're not the a-hole. Now in the comments, Copper Anode says, not the a-hole. If you let this teenager back into your house, it's pretty much guaranteed that Lauren will never tell you anything ever again. Your husband needs to be a father and stand up for his daughter. And I'm sorry, did you say that she recorded herself reading her diary? Why? To show her friends? Post on Facebook? TikTok? They would have been on TikTok. Bully? Reach out to this girl's father and tell him exactly what happened. But yeah, it was to post for attention. She's a bully. Tell your husband to prioritize your daughter, not his friend's bully of a kid, and be sure the parents know exactly why you fired her. Am I a Real Bunny says, is anyone else interpreting teasing as bullying? Sounds like the babysitter is a mean girl. Lauren needs to be comfortable in her own home, especially when she's vulnerable and grieving. Maybe some more therapy for her? I'm not sure why David is putting his friendship on a higher pedestal than his vulnerable child. This maybe is a good lesson on acceptable behavior for the babysitter, especially if she's working around children. You do not violate someone's privacy, and that video? What other videos has she made of the kids in her care? Do the parents know whether she's posted or shared other videos of the kids? It's a cold person who bullies younger teens, especially one that she knows is grieving. Mama made a good decision, not the a-hole. If I was the dad's friend and it was my child that acted like that, it wouldn't be the mum that was protecting her daughter that I would be pissed at, but my child who was being an asshole. The dad's more worried about throwing a friendship away than protecting his kid. And if the friend is a decent person, he would hopefully punish his daughter for being a bully instead of bombing a friendship. OP is definitely not the a-hole, and the husband is. And Redditor191389 says, not the a-hole. You were the adult in this situation. She was bullying your daughter, and I'm horrified your husband cares more about his friendship than that. Our next post is by user HotContext7453, titled, Am I the a-hole? I work in publishing. Mum keeps giving my contact info to aspiring writers, and I am rude to them. So I'm a senior editor at a publishing house. First piece of advice I got on being hired was not to tell people I work in publishing because they'll ask me to look at their manuscript. I thought this was a joke, but the first time I told someone that I was in publishing, you get one guess what they said. My mother sees this as a bonus and wants to brag to everyone and their dog about my daughter the publisher, and my daughter who could find the next J.K. Rowling, and my daughter who can part the Red Sea with only a green pen. She then finishes her boasting with giving them my contact information. If I've asked her to stop it once, I've asked her to stop it 1,000 times, and yet I'm still getting contacted by the nephew of my mother's butcher or my cousin's girlfriend's cousin, saying that my mum gave them my contact information so they could show me their work. I then tell them to get lost. I even have a template that I've sent back to most of them saying that there is a process in place for a reason, along with an outline of this process. If they get pushy, which they always do, I respond that the reason the process exists is so people like them don't waste my time, as I could be using this time to find a manuscript actually worth publishing, which theirs clearly isn't, because if it was, they could go through the regular channels like everyone else, rather than contact me directly and request special treatment. In conclusion, I am not kind to these people. The consequence of this is that I'm gradually ostracizing my mother from her social circles, as people have begun to blame her for me reaming out their acquaintance. Mum has asked that I be nicer. I've asked her to stop putting me in this position. Mum claims that she stopped giving my info to people, and these are just the stragglers. But they just keep coming, so I'm not fully convinced that she's stopped giving out my information. I told my mum that if they get pushy after they receive the template, I reserve the right to give them everything I've got. But my mum has said that I'm being really unfair, both to her and the aspiring authors, and that I'm ruining her reputation, so I need to stop being rude. I said I would deal with them however I feel is appropriate, and this wouldn't happen if she didn't give my info out. She said she's learned her lesson, so I need to stop. I said I'll stop when people stop using her as a reference. She says that I'm enjoying humiliating and upsetting both these people and her, and that the next time she hears from me, she's expecting an apology. Am I the a-hole? Edit in regards to people saying that I may be costing us potentially valuable authors. If the material can stand up on its own, then they can go through the regular process, as we will be able to identify good writing. If they don't trust that we can identify good writing, then they should not be working with us. If they do trust us but want to skip the line anyway, then they are not someone we want to work with, as this suggests that they want special treatment, which will not end with me reading their manuscript, and is likely to be a recurring theme throughout working with them. You're the expert on this one, OP, and not me, and I say fair dinkum on that one. If they're just continually calling you and harassing you, and your mum continues to brag about your achievements and, oh my god, you can split the Red Sea with a green pen, look at you go! Aren't you guys so proud of my daughter? My daughter's achieving so much, it's amazing, here's her contact information, go harass her. Yes, it's so harsh and it's so mean to say, but she deserves to continually be ostracized. These people deserve to be put down. You've given fair reasoning here as to why they deserve to be shut down. You know what the alternative is, and it's not worth it. Your mum continues to make problems for herself, and she's not learning the hard way. And that's unfortunate, but if she winds up with no friends at the end of this, she has no one to blame but herself. Not the a-hole, OP. Now in the comments, Herora6 says, not the a-hole. I used to work for a bookstore, reviewing and accepting/rejecting local self-pubbed author submissions. I know exactly how pushy aspiring authors can be. Seriously, I used to be a literary agent. Everyone saying everyone sucks here has no idea what it's like. None. I'm the EIC at a publishing company. I know how it goes, especially with my family. Luckily, we're a niche publisher, and family are generally revolted or shocked when I tell them what we publish. However, I'm usually nice to people that come out of the woodwork, and there are a lot after 50 Shades of Grey came out. Bleh. The biggest thing they tell me is their book is the next big thing. Sorry, but no. That was a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, thankfully. Lenore Skellington says, not the a-hole. Tell anyone who contacts you with your mother's credentials, it'll cost them X amount of money, however much you want to charge, for you to look at their manuscripts. It's your job, so you should be paid for it. Just make sure to charge a large enough sum that you scare off the people who aren't serious. And OP replies, it's the ones with cash to burn that I have the biggest issue with. Never heard the word no, refuse to take criticism, and if you say one thing to hurt their ego, they just pay to self-publish it anyway. Well, then you might as well make some money off them if they're stupid. True, but they're also entitled, and I don't have the energy to deal with spoilt rich kids in adult bodies saying, but mummy told me that I have a gift. Well, are they contacting you by email? Just delete them. Make a filter with your mum's name and put them all in the recycle bin. Well, you see, the issue with that is if I filter out my mother's very popular first name, then I also filter out the first names of several authors, colleagues, and connections that I work with regularly. And Dear Analysis 5116 says, not the a-hole. You're under no obligation to be polite to pushy a-holes that contact you after your mother has improperly given them your information. Mum's reputation being ruined is only because she can't resist playing the big shot. She knows a big publishing exec. Her misery stops as soon as she stops giving away your info. Stragglers? Gee, maybe she shouldn't have been so free about giving away your name, and if they're that late, can't see how it would be enough of a connection to her. Posted by user throwaway346533. Titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my ex-wife's friend to get out of my face when she insisted that I take my daughter to her mom's place? Now, my ex-wife and I have been separated for over a year. We share custody of our 13-year-old daughter. She had had her period for the first time in April, and her mum knew and told me. She had our daughter stay with her for 2 extra days so she could look after her. Yesterday, my daughter was staying at my place when she realized her period had started again. She seemed unwell for a while, then told me she had an extra pad that she carries with her but needed some more, and asked if I could drive her to the supermarket to buy some. So I took her to the supermarket to do some quick shopping. We were at the feminine hygiene aisle, and my ex-wife's friend approached me and asked what I was doing there. I told her I was helping my daughter buy pads, and she raised her eyebrows, almost taking off her glasses, and then began asking if my ex knew where my daughter and I were. I told her yes, I lied, then I continued walking, but she asked my daughter and knew that I lied. She said I knew how my ex will react and asked why I didn't call her to let her know so she could deal with the issue. I told her, not her day, not her issue, then kept walking. But once again, she got in the way to inform me that I really should call my ex. I had my daughter that day, so I'm responsible for any issues she deals with. Why would I need to call her mom? I'm her father, not the babysitter. I got agitated and told her to get the F out of my face, and then I walked away. My ex-wife called and berated me, saying I should have brought our daughter to her upon finding out that her period started, and that I should have at least told her so she could come pick her up. I asked her why, and she said that she's her mom, she knows how to deal with the stuff that our daughter is new to and struggling with, and said that it was wrong of me to pretend like I knew better than her, since it's her job as a mum, and is worse because her friends saw me and felt weirded out. Then said that I was out of line for telling her friend to get out of my face and walking away while she was talking to me. I responded that our custody agreement consists that I have our daughter on certain days of the week, and she can't change that. She said just because something is legally right doesn't mean it's morally right too. And if I had manners, I would have contacted her and drove our daughter to her house instead of the supermarket, so she could take care of everything. I argued with her and informed her my daughter wanted to stay with me, but she claimed that I was pressuring her and that she'll be way more comfortable staying with her during this time. She insisted I drive my daughter to her place, and I declined. Her boyfriend of 2 months is getting involved, which really pisses me off. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I could be the a-hole for not taking my daughter to stay with her mum, because even though my daughter said she wanted to stay with me, she would have been more comfortable with her mum. That doesn't make any sense. If she's saying she wanted to stay with you, she obviously is more comfortable with you. And your ex's boyfriend of 2 months can go shove it. He has no power here. This is not about him. I don't know why he's trying to make it a him problem. He needs to buzz off. This ex of yours is delusional and her flying monkey decided to come into your life and cause a fuss. This was a non-issue. They decided to make it a huge fight and argument with you over your daughter's period. What the hell is going on? Have I fallen into a stupid dimension or something? Not the a-hole OP. Now in the comments, Judge Jude Am I the a-hole says, Christ on a cracker, look how cute he is. Not the a-hole. We have enough posts on this sub with men completely unable to deal with periods. In this generation, do we really have women also teaching their daughters they have to keep their uglies from the delicate menfolk? You are her father, and you acted like a father when your daughter needed something. Anybody who says differently can piss off. Exactly this. Definitely not the a-hole. My partner is quite comfortable with the concept of periods. If I ask him to buy me tampons on his way home from work, he does. It's not awkward. It happens every month, and there's no reason for men to be so delicate about periods. In my opinion, any man who has daughters should be comfortable dealing with it and not turning into a ball of embarrassment. Raise his hand. I have 4 daughters. They all have different preferences and I know them all. They send a text, I grab them on the way home. They get what they need, no one has to make a secondary trip, and everybody wins. If my wife flipped the F out on me for buying our kids necessities because it's a girl problem, I don't rightly know how I would react, but confusion and anger sound likely. Not the a-hole. If your daughter isn't asking for her mom, there's no need for her to be involved in things like this in your custody days. Good on you for helping your daughter and not being one of those ill, gross guys. No kidding. Daughter asked her parent to buy pads. Nothing wrong or disgusting about accompanying your daughter to buy pads, and it's not a medical emergency. There is no valid reason the ex needed to know, much less try and force a custody adjustment. The daughter is old enough to decide if she needs the ex's advice, considering she already spent 2 extra days over at the ex's place on the same issue. Could you imagine trying to go to court and telling the judge, you must have your daughter on the days she's menstruating because it's a medical emergency? Not only that, but when you're that young, your cycle tends to be irregular, so that would also be a stupid schedule to try and juggle around. Not the a-hole. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.